welcome back to Prestigious Prep by Paris. I am Paris. Thank you so much for being here with me. If you're a part of the Prep Squad already, thank you so much for being here with me yet again for yet another video. Okay? Alright, if you are new here, welcome to the Prep Squad over here at Prestigious Prep by Paris. We are excelling in all areas of our lives, or at least working to excel in all areas of our lives. We understand that we are not a perfect people, but we are doing our very best every day that we wake up to make sure that we put our best foot forward. So if you are looking to be a part of a family who is striving to excel in all areas of their lives, and we're just doing what we can with what we got. We're just having positive vibes over here, having, wins and discoveries and all of that good stuff. We are encouraging each other and motivating each other. Then you are in the right spot. So go ahead and make sure that you like, comment, share, and subscribe. All of my social media platforms are listed down below. I also own a beauty supply with some of my loved ones. It is called Tress's Beauty Supply. That link will also be located down below. It is a Black-owned business, so make sure you shop with us online. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with the video. All right, so in today's video, again, we're going to talk all about if you're an LPN, what your options are, where do you go from here, essentially. So I did get a couple of questions, not a couple, but I do have some questions that I received from a friend of mine. It's a young lady I consider to be a little sister or a mentee. And so I really wanted to make sure that I understood what you guys wanted. What do LPNs want to know? So she provided some questions for me, so I'm going to go ahead and answer those for you. The first question is, what is the difference between a LPN and an RN? And so I do have my laptop here. Okay, so I don't want to miss anything. So if you see me looking down, looking away, that is why. But anyway, so an LPN has the ability to take an assignment, but the assignment is going to be dependent on the availability of a licensed RN to be able to sign off or supervise. In other instances, the LPN's actual experience themselves and level of expertise will allow them to work independently and not have to have that oversight. While RNs are able to, for example, develop care plans and modify or evaluate care plans, LPNs can definitely make suggestions for the care of the actual patient. So it's not that they can't, it's just that the RNs are automatically expected to be the ones to provide the actual education for the actual patients and the caregivers, whoever the stakeholders might be. They really are trying to make sure that they prepare them from an RN perspective so that when they go home, they're successful and they don't end up needing to come back to that facility for any reason, essentially. So an RN can definitely call and have conversations on the actual patient's behalf, advocating for them, leading the charge for an ICT team, so an interdisciplinary team. Usually that's like a pharmacist, a doctor, the social worker, leadership on the floor, all usually come together to have a conversation about what's best for the members, what the options are, and how you guys as a team can assist them in getting that. So the RN would basically make sure that all the equipment gets secured and even making the suggestion of what equipment is needed. Now the LPN is going to be helpful and have a voice in this particular section as well, because the LPN does have hands-on experience, and so they're going to know, are they going to be able to use that feeding pump? Is that going to be a problem? Are they going to be able to handle like a dressing change over an ostomy or whatever it is they might have going on, drawing up insulin syringes, whatever it might be? They're definitely going to be able to provide some information about that. Now, both the RN and the LPN are actually able to complete reporting in the actual medical records so they can document on behalf of what's happening with the member. Actually, according to nurse.org, there are 2 paths for LPNs to choose when you're talking about whether or not you want to actually get your RN degree. You guys can enroll in what they call an LPN to an ADN program or an LPN to an RN program. Both are considered to be bridge programs that build on your actual education and experience, and it allows your LPN or you in an LPN role to continue to work while you complete coursework. People understand that it's important. You have to make money to be able to pay your bills, right? At this point, you might have a family or it might just be you, but you can't just completely not work. And so these particular programs are put in place or created to support the working LPN, basically. Many LPNs definitely find experience and the previous education definitely significant when it comes to their RN studies. It's helpful because they're able to place things, they're able to draw the most appropriate clinical assumptions or clinical ideals based on what's happening with the actual member. So now the LPN to ADN, so the licensed practical nurses or licensed vocational nurses, if we're talking about California or Texas. If you decide to pursue, for example, an associate's degree in nursing, that would be an ADN essentially. So again, there is always the opportunity to go back and get your bachelor's later. So if you're like, I just want to make sure that I get my associates now because I'm trying to go to a hospital and I have to have these credentials, then you could definitely go that way. Or you could, go, I am an LPN and I want to go ahead and get my BSN. I want to go ahead and complete the remainder of that particular licensure. Now, that's going to run you anywhere from 2 to 4 years, depending on, what is actually included in the program, where you go. But it will allow you a wider opportunity when it comes to your career path. You'll have more options at your disposal if you choose to go this way. So it takes a little longer, but in the long term, it's definitely more beneficial. These programs are definitely more rigorous. There's courses of studies. Graduates have more choices when it comes to specializing in certain things if you wanted to do that. And it's very likely that you'll be able to advance into a higher level management position if you're looking to be in leadership in some shape, form, or fashion in a clinical setting, or not in a clinical setting, but in a nursing capacity essentially. And so again, if you go and get your bachelor's, you can always go back and get your master's. You don't have to do that back to back to back. It's really important that you get experience along the way with all the different degrees that you're getting, so that you can apply your experience and your studies to where you're going next, or where you're trying to go next. Most of these programs that are bachelor's programs are really 4-year programs, but depending on where you attended and you received your LPNs and what studies or courses that you took, some of those things will transfer over to the 4-year university. So you just have to call and find out what those classes are and what actually can go, what won't go, in that way. How long does it take? If you're an LPN and you're trying to get your RN, again, I kind of mentioned it already, but it's that 2 to 4 year mark, depending on if you're going consistently, or are you going in the summertime, or are you going with the max load, or are you going extremely part-time. So all of that, it needs to be taken into consideration when talking about this. Now, when it comes to what kinds of courses you're going to see when you are an LPN and going to move into an RN program, you're going to see core classes that will include anatomy, microbiology, chemistry, A&P, behavioral science, and definitely some sort of research, because all of these are areas that will allow you to have greater insight into what might be happening with the member. So when you go to make suggestions, you will not only have that experience from what you've seen, but you also have the book knowledge to be able to merge the two and come up with a comprehensive plan for the actual member, or suggestions for the actual doctor. You might end up in a situation where you're working with a resident. That resident is going to be heavily dependent on you and your skills. So you need to make sure that you are sharp and you're able to advocate for the patient and anticipate what might be coming based on the changes that you're seeing, maybe in their vital signs, and their history, what is their normal course, signs and symptoms. All that's going to be important. When it comes to cost, as far as the LPN to RN program. Now, this was, kind of across the board when I looked it up for you guys. But in 2009, the average cost to get a bachelor's degree ran somewhere at minimum $16,500. So, and that really was a lot of the community colleges. The community colleges, if you don't know, in most cases, they are always going to be more affordable than the actual state university that you might want to attend. The education and enrichment you get there is, essentially the same depending on where you go. So I don't want you to count out a community college when it comes to getting these additional classes. Anything that you can take at a community college that is a reputable community college, go ahead and do that. You will be happy that you did. If it's going to be the same course for half the price or a drop in the bucket, or perhaps, the system will cover that for you. Maybe they can get you a scholarship. Definitely do that. I attended community college for some of my prereqs, and if I had to do it again, I would. I actually had some very, very hard teachers. For example, for AMP, she actually worked at one of the most prestigious colleges in the United States. She just happened to also teach at community college. So I don't want you to think like, oh my God, I'm not going to get what I need from a community college. That's completely false. But definitely do your homework first, okay? Now, talking about working, I alluded to that a little bit earlier. Are you going to really be able to work while you're getting your RN during this process? So, unfortunately, due to the level of dedication that is required for these programs, it is definitely recommended that you carry a part-time job if you can. And this way you can focus. And that's just me being 100% with you. Nursing is hard. I tell you that, guys, that all the time. It's not impossible, but it is hard. And so when you're getting your education, think about how much it's costing you, how much time you're putting into it. You really want to make sure that you put your best foot forward. Otherwise, you're just wasting time and money. And so if you're going to do it, be completely all in with it. Figure out a way. If that means that you get your student loans and you have to figure out, or you have to save up to be able to make this transition, go ahead and start working on those things and figuring those things out. But I think you are definitely going to be happier that you did take the time to figure out what you want first before you do anything else. For me, I would say that if you're going to get a job that fully supports you being in school, meaning they are going to be very sensitive to your school schedule. They're going to be very flexible with you as long as you're flexible with them. Go to a place like that. Also, make sure that your employer is going to assist with paying for school for you. If you don't know about, your employer opportunities for them to pay for school, go ahead and watch How to Go to College for Free. I will put that link probably either in the cards or in the description box if you haven't seen that. So where I break down exactly how you do that, what's the best course of action when it comes to that. I would also recommend that if you are working part-time, let's say you find a job and it's a weekend job, if it could be a weekend day shift, even if you hate day shift, I'm telling you it's going to be best for you, because when you're going to school during the week, you're going to be on a regular schedule. It's going to be extremely hard for you to go to work on a Friday night, go to work on a Saturday night. Maybe you don't work Sunday, but you've been up all night Friday and Saturday. Sunday, you have to hurry up in 24 hours, try to flip to be ready for the week for school. It's going to be extremely stressful. If you don't have to do that, go for a day shift or some sort of mid shift or something on the weekends. I know you're like, oh my God, it's the weekend, this is my time to hang out, but really go ahead and make that investment. I'm telling you, you'll be glad you did in the long run. Plus, it's not forever. It's just for a little bit. For a little bit, okay? It's a little bit. I would also say make sure that you are picking a program and a school that has a pace that you can keep up with. Ask for the curriculum, ask for how it runs, ask for, any additional details you need to help you make the most appropriate decision for you to see if it really is going to work out with your life. Know that you're going to have to make some adjustments, and that's just life. Especially when it comes to school. It's not going to completely fit the way you want it to fit. You're going to have to sacrifice a little bit, miss out on some parties, miss out on some hanging out. But, just let those people know that, you're working on bettering you. And if they don't support you, then you got the wrong friend group. Okay? So I do have another question that came up. So when you're an LPN, do you get precedence over just the general school of students essentially that are applying for nursing school? Like, for example, if I'm an LPN and there is just another student who is just trying to get into the same program, unfortunately as an LPN I don't get precedence over that person. It's going to be based off of the GPA, the time you applied, and what is available. So my suggestion would be, whatever class you're taking, again, put your very best foot forward, get the best grade that you can get. Be very careful with that, because a lot of times the universities will only take your first attempt. So if you don't know that, if you're in a class and you're not sure how it's going, you feel like it's not working, if you have an opportunity to go ahead and withdraw before you fail that class, withdraw. Don't go and fail that class and then want to take it over. Now, I'm not saying that if you take a class over, nobody's ever going to count it, but what I am telling you is that sometimes they won't count your second attempt. It just really depends on the school, so just be very careful with that. That's all I'm saying. When it comes to like the whole scholarship thing, you know, can you get a scholarship if you're an LPN applying for an RN? Abso-freaking-lutely. Every day, all day, 24 hours, 365. Okay, the options are endless. Nurse.org, I mentioned this in my previous videos for my RNs, but they have some great information, as well as nursingschools.com. They have great information and options that are available, and it's based off the area that you're in, so they have some great suggestions for scholarships that you can apply for. And then also allnursingschools.com. I'm going to place all of those links down below. Make sure you take some time to go out to those sites. Those are definitely reputable sites where you can get some additional information from. Then I think you'll find it helpful. So no matter where you live, they have something for everybody. You just put in your zip code on a lot of those sites that I'm going to list below, and it takes you to what you have in your area. All right, so this brings us to what is the difference in pay? We want our coin, right? So obviously there's a difference between what an LPN is paid and what an RN is paid. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, the difference is about $28,900. And also according to Job Outlook, the difference was approximately $18,900 in Missouri. So $18,900 in Missouri. So that's the gap between an LPN and an RN. Now again, this is just kind of like the average. This is not saying this is exactly what it's going to be for you. It doesn't mean like, oh, if I'm making this amount now, I'm going to make $20,000 more. You could make more. You could be, you know, right on the lower end. You could be somewhere in the middle. But this is just giving you an idea of currently where people are falling, essentially, when it comes to the difference. The salary variation, I am going to drop a link down below. Practical Nursing does provide some great insight on what those numbers are. So I will leave that again below so you can look at that as well. I have a couple of more things I want to cover. I know that the question also came up is, you know, do they, meaning nursing schools, count the years of experience you have as an LPN when you're applying for an RN program? If you attended a school, as I mentioned earlier, where they can take some of those credits and transfer those over, they will give you credit for those. You do have to make sure that you had a GPA. I think the lowest was like a 2.5 or 2.75 or something on average. You need to make sure that you get transcripts from high school and all of the colleges that you attended, because they're going to ask for all of those. So go ahead and get those and have those on hand. Sometimes they will want the official transcript. In most cases, they probably want the official just to make sure that it wasn't doctored. So you will have to contact the student's register or the school's registrar's office and ask that those be mailed. And probably by now you probably can just pay the fee online and get that information sent to you. But go ahead and get prepared for that, because they're going to want to see that. So although technically they're not counting your years of experience, they will count courses that you've previously taken that are applicable to the degree that you're trying to get based on what they have set in their actual curriculum. So it's possible. The very last thing that I want to talk about is it critical that an LPN avoid specialties when graduating with an RN? So In my experience, I would say you don't necessarily have to avoid specializing, but I will say it's best to work on a medical surgical floor of some sort to get a variety of exposure. For example, in ER, ICU, just general medical surgical. You want to work in a setting that is going to allow you to see a variety of cases. This way you can enhance the amount of knowledge that you're receiving across the board. It makes you very well rounded when it comes to being a nurse, whether you're an LPN, RN, RN with your BSN, RN with your master's, or higher education. It doesn't matter. When you specialize too early, you do lose, or you can lose the opportunity to get the foundational skills that you're going to get from a med surgeon, ER, or an ICU. So, I just want you to be clear, essentially, when you get out on the floor. An ICU might be a little bit too fast-paced for you, depending on your experience and your knowledge base and your comfort level. So all I'm saying is, make sure that you understand exactly what you're signing up for. It's okay to sign up and say, oh, I really didn't like that, I want to shift. That's completely okay too. Just go ahead and find something else. The thing with nursing is the opportunities are endless, so you're never technically stuck in one place. As long as you move around and get additional experience, it'll be fine. Now, I went to an ICU immediately out of school. I absolutely loved the experience. It was very stressful. But I learned so much. I also feel like the program that I attended, which was UMSL, accelerated program, greatly prepared me for that. And then I had a fellowship with that hospital for 6 months that also included class and me being on the floor. That greatly prepared me for that whole experience. I found that it strengthened my actual knowledge, and I developed my skills really fast. So I'm also going to again put nurse.org, the education section down below that talks about the LPN to RN specifically, so you can get some more additional information. I don't want to make this video any longer than it already is. I hope you found it helpful. I hope that you are now going to like, comment, and subscribe and take all this information and go be great. Let me know what you're going to do in the comments. What have you found out? Did you learn something you didn't know before? Hopefully you'll come back and chat with me in the future. I hope that you all stay blessed, and I hope that you get everything that's coming to you in the way of the blessings that God has placed over your life. And I am speaking nothing but greatness. Be encouraged. Trouble does not last always, and school does not last always either. Okay, let's get in and get it done. Until next time, bye.